Being a teenager is difficult enough, but it's even more worse if you grow up in a broken home with abusive parents. Natalie Bollinger had to go through this hell, and when she had enough of it, she decided to end her life. But what if she changed her mind and decided not to carry out her plan? Was she murdered by force? Let's take a look at the twisted story of Natalie Bollinger and see how the police were able to track out the real true culprit and bring them to justice. Natalie Marie Bollinger was born on February 24, 1998, in Westminster, Colorado. Her father, Ted Bollinger, and her mother divorced when Natalie and her twin sister, Alicia, were just 3. Natalie didn't really have what we would call a sweet childhood, in which you're showered with warmth and love. Hers, though, was more like jumping from home to home. Natalie was a lovely young girl who had aspirations to do great things in life. She was nearly finished with high school in Broomfield, Colorado, and was enrolled in college on a scholarship to pursue her goal of becoming a registered nurse. Overall, she appeared to be happy. But when they say not everything that shines up front is gold in reality, well, that's true for Natalie's case. Because behind that delightful smile was a very messed up and traumatized teen. Natalie had severe depression and was involved in substance abuse. During this difficult period, she became friends with a 42-year-old homeless man named Sean Swartz. The two met in downtown Boulder, in an area frequented by the homeless and the drunk. The reason Natalie went there in the first place was so she and her sister could sell drugs for their father, and it was at that time that she met Sean and grew close to him. Since they were both having difficulties, it only made sense that they would talk about their issues and do what they could to support one another. Even when Natalie turned 18, she continued to text Sean and frequently gave him rides. But eventually, these exchanges would become awkward and terrifying, and this connection would expire. According to Natalie's friends, Sean became increasingly obsessed with her, which made Natalie uncomfortable, so she began to distance herself from Sean. Sean, however, turned hostile and violent when he realized that Natalie wasn't paying him the same amount of attention as she always did, and soon he began stalking her. Sean did all in his power to get Natalie back, but after futile attempts to do so, he turned vengeful and criticized her online. Sean bombarded Natalie's phone with messages and calls and threatened her and her family on social media. Even worse, he posted videos of his rage against Natalie on Facebook, and each time Natalie blocked him, he made a new account, and the same process started all over. Natalie already had enough difficulties, and Sean was exasperating them despite knowing how much she was suffering. Finally, on December 13, 2017, Natalie posted on Facebook detailing the intimidation and threats. She described how she had met Sean and how they had grown close. She also mentioned how once, when she moved to Virginia, he went across the country to see her and slept outside for weeks behind her workplace. When she told him she didn't want to see him anymore, he bombarded her with messages and phone calls. Sean once blocked Military Highway for hours by leaving his car parked in front of Natalie's home, honking it constantly, and only moving it after he was detained by police. The Facebook post urged friends to ignore Swartz and said that not doing so would only make things worse for her. But little did she know that Sean was already part of the thread. It was not long before Sean realized how much of a mess he was about to put himself in. Just a few days after Christmas, on December 28, 2017, Natalie had planned a motorbike ride with a friend named Tim Beeson. She texted Tim that morning at 9 a.m. to confirm their arrangements for the day, but at 9:58 a.m., she texted him once again to let him know that she had some errands to run before they could meet. However, when the hours passed and Tim had not heard from Natalie at all, he texted her once in the hopes that she had gotten busy and that they could hang out some other day. But after that, at 5:22 p.m., he sent another text to Joey, Natalie's boyfriend, asking him, "Has she been found?" Earlier that day at 3 p.m., Joey contacted Tim and asked him if he knew where Natalie was. When Tim told Joey that they hadn't met that day, Joey grew anxious. He told Tim that Natalie had left the house that afternoon but had not taken her phone. Rather, she had taken his Glock 9mm handgun. At first they waited in hope she would return, but considering Natalie had a gun on her, Joey called the police to report her missing. But what's interesting in this situation is that Sean was one of the first individuals to report Natalie missing on his Facebook page. However, he had no idea how the situation would suddenly swing against him. And shortly after he shared this information, everyone turned their focus on to Sean and pushed the authorities to look into him. because it seemed he was the only one who could have done such a thing at the time. The police interrogated Sean. They demanded to know what he had done with Natalie and where she was. And what attracted additional attention to Sean was Natalie's text that she had sent to Tim, who shared it publicly, in which it was made plain that if I ever go missing, he did it. Tell the police it was him if I end up dead. And then the horror happened. The Adams County Sheriff's Office said on December 29th that they had discovered a young girl's body in a forested area next to a dairy farm. The location was close to Natalie's house, and shortly after, it was confirmed that the corpse did belong to Natalie. She had been killed by a single headshot, and she had a lethal amount of heroin in her bloodstream. The news was not confirmed by the police until January 2nd, 2018. Sean was the subject of interest and became the police's initial suspect. Everyone pointed to him. He was an obvious target because of his violent past, which included threats and harassment. Sean told the police he didn't intend to stalk Natalie, and that he only did it out of fear of her harming herself because she previously told him that she intended to commit suicide herself. After further interrogation, Sean was surprisingly let go by the police on January 8th because at the time of Natalie's murder, he was in another state. So if Sean wasn't the culprit, then who was? The focus quickly shifted to Natalie's father, Ted Bollinger, because he was the first to disclose the murder of his daughter. Ted came under criticism shortly after setting up 7 GoFundMe accounts and asking everyone to give money for Natalie's funeral. Each account had a growing sum, ranging from $5,000 to more than $20,000 per account. People criticized Ted for being self-centered and for considering money at this difficult time. And when Natalie's burial was postponed, Ted was accused of hoarding the money for himself. Ted may have had a troubled history, but he would never kill his own daughter or do something like that. And later, when Natalie's burial was held, all suspicions were erased. But what finally drew people's focus away from Ted was the announcement by the detectives that they had uncovered a new suspect, Joseph Michael Lopez. When Natalie's friends and family heard the news, they were shocked since nobody, not even her boyfriend, knew who this man was. But it was about to be revealed. The authorities looked through Natalie's phone records and found that she had communicated with one specific phone number, which was that of Joseph's, a total of 111 times. And the last text was sent on the day that Natalie went missing. Lopez worked as a manager at Domino's and resided in Thornton, Colorado. The 22-year-old was the father of a 7-month-old child. Lopez and Natalie were not friends with each other, and it was the first time that they had ever spoken. When the authorities compared Lopez's whereabouts to Natalie's last known location, they found a connection, and so he was brought in for questioning. Lopez admitted to meeting Natalie on Craigslist. He said she placed an ad in the Men Seeking Women section saying, "I want to put a hit on myself." Lopez replied, saying that he had experience as a hitman and could take care of that for her. Lopez even told the police that Natalie told him she wanted to end her life, and that her partner never had the confidence to do it. On December 28th, the two met in Natalie's apartment and talked about the money and method of death. Natalie told Lopez she wanted to die while on her knees and being shot from behind. She even bought her own gun. Lopez first attempted to talk Natalie out of it, but she wasn't listening, so they both left in search of the ideal location. When they couldn't find any, Lopez left Natalie back at her apartment before leaving, but he was just telling half of the truth. Police had previously tracked his last known location, which was where they discovered Natalie's body. Hearing that, Lopez promptly changed his story and then went with a new version. He then said that they found a spot near a dairy farm, but that it was Natalie herself who fired the pistol. The police told Lopez that the direction of the bullet into Natalie's skull proved she could never have pulled the trigger alone. Lopez then told the police a third story, telling them that he attempted to talk Natalie out of it, but she was stubborn, so he gave in and shot her with closed eyes. He said that they both had prayed before he killed her. Lopez was arrested on February 8, 2018 for the attempted murder of Natalie Bollinger. He was found guilty of first-degree murder and sentenced to 48 years in prison. He pled guilty and avoided a life sentence. Natalie's family was not happy with this decision. They wanted Lopez to serve a life term in prison. To this day, the investigation has never been able to track down and confirm the existence of the Craigslist posts. Thank you for watching True Crime Prime. Kindly subscribe to our channel and remember to like, share, and comment.